It's Wellness Wednesdays. It's Wellness Wednesday, and this Wellness Wednesday is the last Wellness Wednesday of 2024. There'll be Feedback Friday, and then next week it'll be Monday, Tuesday content, because Tuesday is the Game of the Year winners. As of now, there are multiple ties in categories, including Year of the Game. Reverse Year of the Game was tied for a bit, but it is not now. If you're wondering what this is something on the Discord server that we do every year, and people seem to like it, so maybe we should do more things like this. But we streamed Red Dwarf earlier this week. That was really fun. Some people hadn't seen it, and so now more people know of the miracle that is the cat. If you'd like to join our super fun community where we actually kick out assholes, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK. And kicking out assholes actually is relevant to the topic of this video because it's been a week of people taking cheap shots, and the best thing to do is not respond. But as anybody who has had to just do that knows, that can sometimes be the absolute hardest thing in the short term, even when you know it's the smart play. Because that means you have to let people lie about you and do nothing. And absurdly lie. Like, I get the double whammy, right? Because it's like, not only are they lying, but it's comedy gold at how patently bad the lie is. And, then it's the whole, like, lineup of other people that you threw out for being assholes. And they, like, air their grievances and all that. But, don't say anything. Don't say anything because that's what they want, right? Either they lie and get away with it, or they provoke you into a response so they can play the victim and then further criticize. And one thing I've learned about the internet is the less you say about something, the better, because you don't want things being turned into you against yourself, right? If you talk a lot, then it gives people more to chew apart and find one little thing they think they got you on. And even when it's not a gotcha. And so it's better to just say your piece and stop talking. Of course, it is very hard to have impulse control and self-restraint when people lying. And, what you do is you get it all out with people you trust. Hope they don't stab you in the back because they're talking to both people. Or just write it out. Like, if you really don't trust the environment you're in, write it down, set up recording things like this, just rant, get it out. Think about all the things you'd love to do because they'd be super funny, but a terrible idea. Because you do get a little bit of, like, dopamine, a little bit of norepinephrine just for thinking about it, right? And then you can convince yourself that it's a terrible idea, that it's best to just hold your noise and get on with things. Because a lot of the time, the people that are doing this stuff, it is for one of two reasons, right? One is to get your attention. The other is to get money. Sometimes both. And it's just better when, or it's, to cover up their own bad behavior by turning it on you. And either way, those are not people worth any of your time. And it's better to just stay no contact because one of the things I am deficient in is, the, oh, woe is me, it's not my fault, I I grew up being taught nobody cares if it's your fault or not. If they're going to blame you, they're going to blame you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So saying it's not my fault is just going to give you, or I didn't do anything, I did nothing wrong. It just gives them another round to kick at you. You know, people are going to give you the benefit of doubt or they're not. And there's squat you can do about it. And the longer I'm in various forms of media, the more I realize that the vast majority of people, and this is true of life too, not just the media, the vast majority of people are not really interested in getting to know you. They're interested in throwing spitballs at the caricature of you that they've created in their own mind. Someone you can trust sees you and adapts to who you are. They don't try to, warp things into you conforming to the straw man of you that they have in their head. But it's really, really hard. And I know a lot of people, there's one guy on the server who's continuing to be harassed by people, in his community because a woman lied about him. And it's, constant emotional chip damage. It's constant psychic chip damage. It's just, run it out, try to heal up, run it up, try to heal out. And ideally, you can, get away from it, moving, changing jobs, changing schools, changing friend groups. Changing friend groups is actually the easiest of those to do. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes you're stuck. And on the internet, you can never totally get away from people. And it sucks. There's no good answer with this stuff. But the truth is that the people who want to believe the lies will believe the lies no matter what you say. Trust me. And the biggest bleeding hearts, the biggest activists, they are usually the first ones to believe complete bullshit about someone. So that's why I tend to avoid those types. But the people that either, ask you for your side or just say, it's pretty clear they're full of shit. Those are the ones that got your back. The people that their first instinct is to believe something that if you just stopped and thought about it for a second, then they'd see what classic crap the whole thing is. And it's hard, right? Because that's sort of one of the things that I've gotten better at as I've gotten older is dealing with disappointment and rejection. Just because I've been through it so often, I know I'll survive it. It is a learned skill. And the only way you learn it is to get disappointed, rejected, and overcome it. Like, you eventually realize that, no, you'll get back up. The sun will rise tomorrow, unless you're in one of those places that, at this time of year, the sun doesn't come up. Maybe that was a bad metaphor at this time of year. But life goes on, and you can only move forward. And a very difficult part of, my personal PTSD stuff is that a big part of it is that people don't believe you, and so it's, unfairness aside, you have to deal with symptoms of this stuff, and you have to not give in to what those symptoms make you want to do, which is, of course, desperately defend yourself. because it doesn't work. Because then you get back into the cycle of like, okay, it's disappointing that people believe you, right? Believe the lies. But if you try to tell them the truth and they go, well, there are two sides, right? Because they already believed that person. And then, well, I believe her, but I don't disbelieve you. But, you know, he or she got to me first. That kind of immature crap is everywhere. And that's why I really don't, I don't care to defend myself against shit. You know, if a close friend asks or somebody approaches me in in good faith, I might give them the Cole's Notes version. But even then, I've never found it really does a whole lot of good. People are either going to believe you or they're not. And here's the thing, though. The reasons that people tend to make up their minds about you this way, they have absolutely nothing to do with you. Again, remember I said it's a straw man version of you? They're either seeing a reflection of themselves. You know, the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial was a shining example of that, right? There are people on both sides that are absolutely unshakable. And it's not necessarily because of the facts presented in the case. It's who they related to more emotionally. You know, if somebody's a woman who was, terrorized by a male partner, they're more inclined to be sympathetic to Amber Heard. If you're a guy who was, emotionally and perhaps even physically abused by a female partner, well, you're going to be on Team Johnny Depp. And it is very hard to budge off that position because it's emotional. And I do think the reason that Johnny Depp won the PR war and the trial is because he took the stand and was like, mega pint. Yeah, that's a giant bag of weed. He didn't look right at something where he was clearly like not his best moment and go, I did nothing wrong. The minute someone doesn't own their part in it, and, Amber Heard got up there, no, everything I did was, oh, whoa. The minute somebody can't find one thing to go, yeah, I fucked up there, to most people, their credibility is shot. Because anybody who's been in that position of having been abused, manipulated, or deceived by someone, they can think of plenty of points where it's like, yeah, next time I'm not going to do it that way again. Anybody in that situation can find at least one place that they fucked up. And that's the thing. If you let, and I have been through this more times than I can count. Like, it's nice that people finally, with Stalker Chan, they just read it and go, this is obsessed and bad crazy, instead of asking me for an explanation. And it's just because she has talked so much that it's become evident. And unfortunately, that's the best thing to do. It's hard. It's hard. Like I said, it's hard. You've got to constantly do the self-control, constantly make that wisdom saving throw, right? Like constantly saving throw against want to do something. Saving throw against adrenaline brain. Saving throw against the intense sense of unfairness, you know? But really, the best thing to do if someone is lying is let them keep talking. Because if they are trying to get your attention, then the lack of response will drive them crazy. And they might escalate because, you know, they've got nothing better to do, clearly, because if they did, they would have moved on. But, you know, the other thing you have to consider is that there's something of monetary value that they're after. I mean, in my case, Stalker Chan has gotten work opportunities and grants and things like that off of the absolute lie that she was a brave survivor of an abusive relationship when she in fact was the abuser. And it, you know, it could have been a complete shit show on both sides. It could have been a Johnny and Amber, but you know, it's not the Hallmark movie bullshit that she's slinging. And so she will defend that lie jealously. Anybody that leverages a lie they're telling about you for money, you gotta go scorched earth. And most of the time, scorched earth is not the smart way to go because you get scorched, right? But if you just let them keep talking and give them nothing, then they will eventually slip up. And I mean, for one thing, they'll burn other people because if they think they got away with a lie, they'll lie again and they'll lie again and they'll tell bigger and bigger and bigger lies. Even you're like, how can they possibly have told a bigger lie than, you know, the ongoing long-term persistent and then lied about lying and then changed their story 4 times, right? Like the fact that their lies are already so big now, they get emboldened and they just tell more lies about more people and eventually they do get caught. And that's when you are nowhere near it. They can't reasonably blame you. They will. They will. I mean, it is amazing to me how people blame me. They'll do the whole, oh, Leanna harmed me. Her friend did this thing. Like, half the time I don't know what they're talking about. Most of the time I don't know what they're talking about. Sometimes I have a slim idea and it, you know, it's usually not that cut and dried. But it's like, if a third party did something to you, you know, if a third party screwed you, like, take it up with them. Just because they're my friend doesn't mean I agree with everything they do. It doesn't mean I know about it. That's always that's the one Stalker Chan used so much. Like, other people sent her nasty grams online and it's clearly me. She makes no connection. She never names the other people. And people are just supposed to buy that, oh, yes, I am like, you know, what the fuck's the character in Baldur's Gate 3? You know, like, you get the tadpole in your head, and so you can, like, mind control. People are, oh, yeah, that's me. I have illithid powers. Like, I can control right? That's an obvious tell somebody is bullshitting. Because unless they have any evidence that they knew about it, or that they were behind it, well, that just seems like paranoia, doesn't it? It seems like there's something in their soul that they can't admit about themselves, even though it's staring them right in the face, and they can't admit they were wrong. And that's really what's at the core of people who do this to you. And everybody has someone like this in their life. And if you don't have somebody like this in your life who's, prolonged and massively lying about you, maybe you're the person. Either you've made really great life choices. And I admit I haven't. There are red flags about everyone, right? And I used to be much more forgiving about those red flags. That's probably the biggest change in me in the last year. If the minute someone starts fucking around now, it's see ya. It is not, and it's funny because, people like to say that she just goes off, right? Which is a complete misrepresentation of things, but all they've succeeded in doing is, I made a promise at the beginning of the year to the mods that I'd take 10% less shit. I think I've come in at about 20 because I just got so damn fed up. And, that's when some people are like, you can't give up on people. You need to give people chances. And it's not giving up on people. It's if you give someone too much, they don't appreciate it. And in fact, it actually can fuck with their self-esteem. And that's something I had to learn the hard way. That they get so used to getting easy stuff from you that they start feeling more and more impostery. If they earn it, they feel like they've earned it. But, gone are the days where I'm like, I want to give people the chances that I never got. And more, it's I'm going to, when I see somebody really doing the work, I'm going to have their back, cause at least then they know that if people start lying about them, and it's happened, people have come to me. I mean, the one thing that we're still trying to train into people, you come to me complaining about the mods on the server and making them out to be this big asshole. Well, it's Discord. There's a text conversation of everything. And, it'll, excuse me, sneeze on the truth. But the first thing I'll say to them is, have you talked to that mod? No. Then why are you talking to me? And that's what I will do for someone. I will have their back, because that's really the best thing. If somebody's lying about you, that's what you want to hear, right? You want to know people have your back. If somebody's lying about a friend of yours, letting them know that you're there for them, is actually better than asking them what happened. I mean, people are going to be unlikely to talk if they think you don't believe them, Sometimes you do have to have the difficult conversation, though. Sometimes you have to go, you're like, this is what the other person said. What's your recollection of what happened? And while it is true that the complete truth is usually somewhere in between the two extremes, sometimes it's like position is here, other position is here, truth is here, right? Like, yes, that is technically in between the two, but advantage clearly one person. And I find that is about 75% of the time. Sometimes it is just a misunderstanding. And I've told people, like, I think this is just a misunderstanding. But if someone's really, really upset about something, it doesn't hurt to find out why they're really upset if they seem very agitated. But again, the minute there's clout or money involved, you know, if somebody goes out there and tells a tale of woe and then, you know, immediately promotes something or immediately has a financial ask, those are real grain of salt things, because there's a big difference between going, look, I'm in a really tough situation and this person harmed me, give me money, right? Like, what does one thing have to do with another? Really? Like, unless it's a legal defense or something. And I just think people have gotten so fatigued about that. I know that, you know, when we did the Spider-Man shit, I have coasters with the little Spider-Man thing we did. But when we did that, when you know, we fundraised to repair the house, a big concern was that, you know, how do we verify the story without giving too much personal information away? Because obviously, internet security is really important. And it really came down to the fact that I, you know, put my reputation on the line and just asked people to trust me, and they did. And I'll tell you that makes not firing back with, it's like 3 or 4 separate people this week. It's just like, what is with this fucking week? But yeah, it makes it easier to not say anything when I think back to that. It's like, look, people trust me enough to do that. I don't have to defend myself, right? All defending myself is going to do is give attention to the people who, quite frankly, can't do it on their own and turn me into a villain because no one gives a shit enough about them on their own. And that's harsh, but sometimes harsh is true, right? So think about that. If somebody's using you as a villain because it's the holidays, you're going to have the family shit talking, you know, and I hope you don't, but more on, you know, end of year thoughts. Friday, Monday, Tuesday, you're the game. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for some you can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/Leanna K. Thanks for watching and be well.